In the heart of the Middle East, Syria, a nation with an ancient and storied history, now finds itself in ruins, scarred by more than a decade of brutal conflict. Once home to some of the world's oldest civilizations, Syria's rich cultural heritage now stands as a tragic reminder of the devastation that has plagued the country. At the center of this storm is one man, Bashar al-Assad. But to understand his rise to power, the wars that have shaped his regime, and the ruthless tactics he has employed to maintain his grip on the country, we must first look at his father, Hafez al-Assad, and the dynasty that set the stage for one of the most controversial families in modern geopolitics. Hafez al-Assad, a military officer from Syria's Alawite minority, rose to power in 1970 through a bloodless coup. His iron-fisted rule transformed Syria into an authoritarian state where political dissent was met with violence and repression. Under Hafez, Syria became a fortress, and his regime was characterized by widespread surveillance, political purges, and the systematic silencing of opposition. His brutal tactics were most evident in the 1982 Hama massacre, where he ruthlessly crushed an uprising by the Muslim Brotherhood, killing tens of thousands of people in a bid to assert his power. This marked the beginning of a long-lasting political dynasty that would pass from father to son, ensuring the Assad family's control over Syria for decades. Hafez's grip on Syria was absolute, and he had crafted a system in which power, wealth, and security were firmly in the hands of his inner circle, primarily drawn from the Alawite sect. Under his rule, Syria became both a regional power and a pariah state, heavily aligned with the Soviet Union during the Cold War and later cultivating strategic relationships with Iran and Hezbollah. When Hafez al-Assad died in 2000, Syria faced a potential political vacuum. His son, Bashar al-Assad, who had spent much of his adult life studying medicine in London and had no experience in politics, was unexpectedly thrust into the leadership role. His older brother, Basil, who had been groomed to take over, had died in a car accident in 1994, leaving Bashar as the reluctant heir to his father's throne. The world initially saw Bashar as a potential reformer, a young and relatively unknown figure who might bring change to Syria's rigidly controlled political system. His early rhetoric promised modernizing reforms, economic liberalization, and an opening up of Syria's political system. However, these promises were short-lived. Bashar quickly consolidated power by purging potential rivals within the regime, and his so-called reforms turned out to be little more than cosmetic changes aimed at maintaining the Assad family's hold on Syria. Beneath the surface, Bashar was just as ruthless as his father in protecting his regime, resorting to authoritarian tactics to suppress any opposition to his rule. In 2011, as the Arab Spring spread across the region, millions of Syrians took to the streets demanding greater political freedoms, an end to corruption, and a reform of the deeply entrenched Assad regime. What began as peaceful protests quickly escalated as Bashar al-Assad responded with brutal force. Security forces were deployed to crush demonstrations, and soon the country was embroiled in a full-scale civil war. What had started as a call for reform became a devastating conflict that would consume the nation for years. The Assad regime's response was swift and merciless. Cities were bombed, opposition areas were besieged, and civilians were targeted in a systematic campaign of terror. The regime employed brutal tactics, including the use of chemical weapons, to crush resistance, drawing widespread international condemnation. Despite the atrocities committed by the Assad regime, Bashar's hold on power remained largely unchallenged, thanks in large part to the support of two key allies, Russia and Iran. Russia, under President Vladimir Putin, provided crucial military support to the Assad regime. Russian airstrikes helped tip the balance in the war, providing the Assad regime with the upper hand against the opposition. Iran, too, played a critical role, sending troops and backing Hezbollah fighters to shore up the Assad regime's military capabilities. With the assistance of these foreign powers, Bashar al-Assad was able to maintain his control over much of Syria, despite widespread rebellion and the mounting human cost of the war. The cost of this conflict has been staggering. Over 500,000 Syrians have lost their lives, millions more have been displaced, and the country itself lies in ruins. The humanitarian crisis that has unfolded in Syria is one of the worst in modern history, with no clear end in sight. Entire cities have been decimated, and the civilian population bears the brunt of the suffering. Bashar al-Assad did not rule alone. His family played an integral role in the regime's survival. His brother, Maher al-Assad, is the commander of the elite Republican Guard and the 4th Armored Division, the most powerful and loyal military units in Syria. Bashar al-Assad's legacy is one of violence, repression, and missed opportunities. While his family may have maintained power for over 50 years, the cost of their rule has been catastrophic for the Syrian people. The tragedy of Syria is not just the result of war, but also of a deeply entrenched system of authoritarianism that stifled any hope of change. Now, as the world looks to the future, it is crucial that we understand the lasting impact of the Assad dynasty and work towards a better future for Syria and its people. If you found this video informative, please like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth analysis on global geopolitics. Help us spread awareness about the ongoing crisis in Syria and the actions of the Assad family. Together, we can make a difference. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, stay engaged, and let's work towards a better future for Syria and the world.